Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic host, Bachelor Nation News. I got one more Hannah Brown video. This is probably going to be it, but as you know, last 2 weeks I was on the road traveling, Orlando, Florida. I got the Disney variant, and then New York City, and now I'm back in the studio. And we had so much drama with Katie Thurston's 12 Days of Mess, which turned into about 12,000 days of drama. And then Hannah Brown, of course, releasing her book, All the Tea. Tayshia and Zach broke up. So now that there's a little bit less drama out there, we can sort of focus on some more of the nitty-gritty. So there's two articles I'm going to share with you. One where Hannah says that the sex with Peter Weber was better than with Jed. Poor Jed. Did you ever think you'd feel bad for Jed? He's like, come on, I'm trying to live in my peace. Even Jed's current girlfriend is like, what's this Peter Weber all about? Let me go see what he's all about. And then, of course, she said she panicked, and that's why she said yes to his proposal. So we'll get into all of that. Do me a favor, don't panic and hit that subscribe button right there. We are inching our way to 50,000 subscribers, and like this video if you don't mind. What I like to do is I like to pass one Bachelor alumni at a time. So the next person we're trying to batch in subscriber count is Nick Vial. So I think we can pass him this week. No offense, Nick. It's nothing about you. It's my own competitive drive. Well, you're so jealous of him. Of his abs, for sure. Definitely jealous of his abs. All right, so let's get into it. Vlogmas, 85%. We're on the way there. If you haven't donated already, we are raising money to donate to underprivileged kids so they can have some presents to open for this Christmas season. Isn't that good? And speaking of Christmas season, Vlogmas Day 1 is up. Vlogmas Day 2. Oh, I got to make it a little smaller. I just released this, and then I noticed there was an error in the edit, so I'm going to re-upload this. So after this video, I'm going to work and re-upload Vlogmas Day 2. Tasha and myself, my fiance Tasha and I, her favorite thing is Harry Potter. So we went to Harry Potter Universe, the Christmas Village, got the butter beer. We had a blast. We cover that in Vlogmas Day 2, video-themed Christmas videos on my vlog channel. At the end of this video, you can go check that out. All right, now into the goods. Hannah Brown says sex with Jed Wyatt wasn't as good as Peter Weber. And let's hear what she has to say about that. That dog food jingle wasn't exactly an aphrodisiac. Hannah Brown confesses in her new memoir, God Bless This Mess, New York Times bestseller, that sex with ex-fiancé Jed Wyatt impaled in comparison to getting down with Peter Weber in a windmill. Where do we come up with these things? Impaled in comparison? Can somebody get me a pay raise here? By the way, speaking of which, noon today, Pacific Standard Time, I'm doing a Patreon-only live stream. Patreon.com/Dave Neal. Patreon-only live stream. Let me find the button for that. And that's going to be talking about a few things I can't share publicly with you guys just yet, but some things I wanted to get off my chest, some personal stuff. Some, just things that if you want, you can join $5 a month. All right, I'll be honest here. The sex wasn't as good as it was with Peter. Peter Pumpkin Eater, Peter Hannah Eater, maybe. There it is. Got to get that button. But my emotional need for connection was more fulfilled. Get that one. Oh, you don't like that one. Brown recalls, you guys liked it when I was traveling and I didn't have all my buttons, right? Brown recalls her intimate evening with the Nashville-based musician being more like what a date night would feel like back home. Yikes. While having sex with Weber 34 times, not 34, 30 years old, 4 times, in an old windmill in Greece 3 days prior was strictly fun. That's one way to use sustainable energy, just making those turbines go round and round. You put the into turbine. Okay. I went into the room with Jed with pretty much the exact same expectation I'd had with Peter. I was just looking forward to alone time away from the cameras, but it was maybe more complicated with Jed because we had this deep emotional connection. All right, so she's saying she liked Jed so much, maybe that's why the sex wasn't as good. Hey, it takes two to tango. What does that say about Peter? She's like, I didn't care at all about you, so I let my emotions go and other things. By the end of season 15, or Peter's just a better lay, you know what I mean? Some people like different things. Maybe Jed's writing her dog jingles in her ears, while Peter's, hitting notes from a different angle. I say, it's all about the angle of your dangle, Peter Weber knows. By the end of season 15, Brown got engaged to Wyatt. You see how I'm just defending Jed here? I'm like, maybe it's not Jed's fault. We're all a Jed. Listen, ladies, every guy knows this, and I know we don't have many men watching the channel. 93% are women, right? But the men that are watching, right? Joseph in New York, we met over the week. this past week. Joseph knows. Ask Jordan, your girlfriend. Every guy knows we are another lady's horror story, the worst sex she ever had. There's always a story where you just aren't on your game. Look, I play baseball as a pitcher. Even a good pitcher gives up a home run once in a while. So I'm sure the ladies know when you've been I'm sure the ladies know that you're some ex-boyfriend's like horror story too. It goes in both directions. We can't all hit grand slams. She remembers realizing that he wasn't the man for her just a few weeks after he proposed, and things really soured between them when Wyatt wanted details about Brown's fantasy suite date with Weber. So we touched on this earlier, touching. He also asked me if his thing was bigger than Peter's, she writes in the book. Why do guys always ask that? I've never asked that I've never asked that to a girlfriend. Is my thing not as no? I would rather not know. Ignorance is bliss. I just assume that's not the case at all. I don't even remember, she told him. I just didn't see how answering that question would be good for anybody. Well, the best way to answer it if you really love Jed was to like really downplay your thing with Peter. Not write a book. But of course, she's a best-selling author. So tell your story. Cash in. So he's like, this is him down on one knee. He goes, before I propose, just roughly, what was it? Was it, whatever. Did he have the Irish curse, all potatoes, no meat? What is it? What do you got? Brown hit her breaking point with Jed Wyatt after allegations surfaced that he had a girlfriend back home when he went on the show. She remembers feeling so embarrassed by his constantly changing story and promptly broke off their engagement in front of cameras. In some ways, it felt so good to finally tell the audience officially that Jed and I were no longer together, but it was still heartbreaking to come in terms with how it all ended. Yeah, so of course she had to live when the information was coming out about his other relationship, which he still denies. And, at some point, you got to take someone for their word. Maybe he told this girl that he loved her, but he wasn't official. They were on a break. They never started. Who knows? Who knows at this point? Who cares? 7 months after the finale, Brown found herself back in bed with Weber after hanging out at Bachelor in Paradise star Hannah Godwin and Dylan Barber's engagement party. The pilot had been named The Bachelor, and then he banged, they bumped Harrison's, as it were. She didn't think it was as good as the windmills. Hey, maybe it wasn't the windmill. Maybe it was the Greek food. Maybe she just likes a little Greek food, some of that sticky dessert stuff. What's that called? You know what I mean? And it's not a cannoli. You know what I mean? The Greeks have that little square sticky. I know there's some Greeks out there going, it's baba ganoush or whatever. She didn't like Pilot's baba ganoush. I didn't get to his house expecting us to have sex, but we did. Hey, we've all been there. We've all hooked up with an ex. We're like, we did not expect that to happen, and it did. I'm not sure what to say about it except that it wasn't good. The sex didn't last very long. Oh, she said that too. Wow. Oh, boy. Once again, Dancing with the Stars season 28 winner was left feeling embarrassed and ashamed. Yeah, you never want your 2-minute Dancing with the Stars tango to last longer than your romp. You never want that. Although, hey, 2 minutes can be fine. It's all about the, did you get to the finish line? Okay. All right. Sounds like she didn't get to the finish line. Sounds like they needed Google Maps. Rerouting. All right. It's easy to fall back into what's familiar, even when that familiarity isn't good for you. Brown said. Brown, who is now dating model Adam Woolard. It's bad when you're like, oh, instead of dating a musician, instead of dating a pilot, I'll date a model. That's good luck. They seem like they're doing well. So then we have this article. I only accepted Jed Wyatt's marriage proposal because I panicked. We'll fly through that. I was caught up in the magic and the fantasy of it all when all of a sudden he got down on one knee and pulled out a ring, and I thought, no, I can't. This isn't what it's supposed to be like. Which, by the way, I'd never heard her say she regretted the proposal. I just always thought she regretted the, once all the sketchy stuff came out. I said yes anyway. It's hard to explain how conflicted I felt. Can you guys watch videos of people saying no, like proposal videos? I can't watch those. Sometimes you'll see them online where it's like, so-and-so proposes on the Jumbotron. She says no. And I'm like, nope, I can't watch that. No, you got to propose the same way you would dispose of a body, right? You got to do it somewhere where no one else is around just in case things don't go well. You know what I mean? These are jokes, folks. It freaked me out. How could I not know my fiance's full name? So she didn't know Jed's real name was Jared. Who was this person? I asked Jed, why didn't I know your name? Well, because he goes by Jed. He probably doesn't like the name Jared. I never went by that, he said. He didn't think it was a big deal, but alongside everything else, it just made me question whether or not this was real. Well, it's not real. It's on a TV show. Hannah asked, how could I be engaged to a man when I didn't even know his name? And his name was Jared. That's one of those things when you know your intuition, when you know it's not right, little things like that. Like if Tyler's real name was Skyler, she'd be like, I don't care what his real name is. Have you seen his body? He looks great. You know what I mean? But when you don't live up to the expectations of others, in the fantasy suite, all of a sudden red flags look a little redder. Is that a term? I think we're heating up. Hannah selected Jed over her runner-up Tyler Cameron and third place finisher Peter Weber. Why wouldn't that be funny though if the roles were reversed? Like if the Bachelor, like Matt James, say Matt James. Now he told everyone he didn't hook up with anyone in the fantasy suites. He didn't have sex with anyone. But could you imagine if he had sex 4 times with Bree Springs and then was like, oh, it was just for fun. We didn't like each other. We didn't have that much of a connection. People would be like, oh my gosh, but I get it. You got to go through, it's a pageantry. You got to go through the fantasy suite. And if the sex is good, maybe the other parts will do better. And if the sex is bad, then it's like, all right, what are we doing here? Because she had slept with Peter multiple times, Hannah reportedly felt like she couldn't send him home. And after being completely open with Tyler and making out with him like crazy, she woke up thinking, I cannot lose him. And Jed, whom Hannah slept with after Peter, was apparently the only one who didn't feel so confusing. So it's almost like Jed and Tyler canceled each other out, and then Jed was like, hello, I'm still standing. The lack of sleep and loss of contact with the outside world made me feel like I was losing my mind. That's what they do that for. That's what they do that for. There were days when I honestly couldn't see straight or think straight, but I kept going because I didn't want to let anyone down, especially myself. Ultimately, Hannah dumped Jed about a month after his marriage proposal because he had lied to her about his dating history. All right, so I think we got the whole story there. What is this? We avoided each other. Okay, so that's all. That's all you need to know. Not much else to stay there. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to be working feverishly to get Vlogmas Day 2 up. That's coming out next. If you haven't watched Vlogmas Day 1, go check it out. Donate to the Marines Toys for Tots. I got the link below. We're going to hit 10,000 donations, or $10,000 if my life depends on it. All right, folks? And then the Patreon live stream is at noon Pacific Standard Time today. So tons of stuff going on, but all good, and happy to be back home. We'll talk to you guys in a little bit. Bye now.